The following presentation is a gift from the team at Streamline Publishing, publishers of Fine Art Connoisseur, Plein Air Magazine, and weekly newsletters Fine Art Today, Realism Today, Plein Air Today, and American Watercolor, and events, the Plein Air Convention and the Figurative Art Convention. We offer over 400 different art instruction tutorials and ultra high-quality video by the world's leading artists. If you like what you see, help us support our artists and our team with your purchase. Each video aired has a special discount code for today only in the comments section with a link to the video offered. And to see everything we do, or if you want to receive notice of new releases, new products, and new events for artists, simply click the other link, which says, "See everything we do." Thank you.
Hi, I'm Eric Rhodes, publisher of Fine Art Connoisseur and Plein Air magazines. Thank you for joining us today. Something really special, Fearless Waterscapes with the great artist Shuang Li.
Hello everyone, my name is Shuang Li. I'm a watercolor artist. I paint a lot of landscapes and waterscapes. I was born, raised, and got my art training back in China. But I came to the United States in the 80s and I got my master's degrees here and continue doing the paintings till today. I belong to National Watercolor Society. I'm a signature member of the society. I'm also artist member of California Art Club and a signature member of Laguna Plein Air Art Association. So I do this quite a bit of teaching about how I paint. Besides that, I also do some small still lifes. A lot of times I do plein air paintings. If you ask me, I'm a pretty much a half-half. So half time I paint outdoors, half time I paint in my studio. Actually, I would encourage you, if you haven't done this, paint outdoors. That's a lot of fun. I'm a landscape painter, so during the landscape painting selections, either outdoors or indoors, one thing you cannot avoid is you have water in your landscape. In the water itself is also considered the most difficult element to paint, especially in watercolor. Why? Because water itself doesn't really have a shape as a fixed shape. If it flows in the ocean, it moves, it changes every single second. In the lake, it's formed by the lake itself, the bottom, or in the pond, it's formed by the pond. Or if in your cup, it's formed by your cup. So it's very difficult to paint, but not anymore. So in this workshop, what I'm going to show you is you can paint various forms of water in your landscape, from very calm ones to the moving waterfall or even ocean waves without any fear. You will be gain a lot of freedom, enjoy painting watercolor from this day on after you watch this workshop. Okay, let's talk about what I use for my watercolor painting. Generally, I use the paper that's either cold press or rough. That's 140 pounds. I don't use the lighter pound, I don't use the heavy pound. But cold press and the rough are interchangeable. I tend to use a smaller, when I do smaller paintings, I use a cold press a little bit more. But when it goes larger, I like to use rough surface. And I use 3 kind of brushes, okay? One kind of brushes Here, these are natural hair brushes. It's a soft and mainly the mop type. I use these mainly for my soft washes. One brush might worth mention is slightly different from many others, is this one. Some company called it oval, some company called cat tongue. It looks like a cat tongue. This one is actually between a flat brush and a tipped brush and a mop brush. So that's how I like to use it, because it has 3 characters in one. After my soft washes, what I generally use are these synthetic brushes. These are very long, has sharp tips. This one looks sharper, and lasts forever. It holds enough pigment, but at the same time, it allows me to paint as I draw. I use my brush as like a drawing tool, and then I do the drawing like my painting, interchangeable. I also have 2 flat brushes keep in my tool set. These 2 flat brushes are mainly used for lifting some pigments of the painting itself. Pencil, this is the pencil that's a mechanical pencil. It's very regular, but I use 0.9 instead of the most common 0.5. What I found out is thicker ones, if you lightly go across the paper, it would hurt the paper too much. So now let's talk about my palette. I use about 12 colors. Okay, very few of them. Mainly the base of my color palette are the primaries. So I have 3 sets of primaries: the blue sets, the red sets, and the yellow sets. So each has at least 2, but 2 different color temperatures. For instance, the yellow 2, you can see here, one is towards greenish, which happen to be cadmium lemon yellow, but it can be any yellow that towards that direction. The name is not important. And this one is a lot warmer towards reddish orange side. So this one by the name is New Gambosh, but it can be anything that has this character. So that's my red set. It's the same thing. It's one towards purple, one towards orange. I have a few blues here. These 2, the cobalt blue and the ultramarine blue, are towards purplish, and these 2 are towards greenish. This one happened to be phthalo blue, and the other one is cobalt turquoise. So with these, I can mix anything, with anything. I can mix red into it, make my own purple. I can make yellows, mix with different blues to get different greens, and so on and so forth. I also have 2 browns here. One is yellow ochre, and the other one is burnt sienna. I also have something in the middle, which I separate these 2, and it wouldn't get mixed together, is black, and another darker agent I use constantly is the burnt amber. You probably notice there's a little white, but I don't use it. It's completely dried. What I carry is a separate white tube. So this white tube can be watercolor as a white titanium, or can be any gouache white. But the whole character of this white is it needs body, it needs the coverage that I want. I don't use it to mix any color. I only use it for some very small highlight that I wanted to emphasize, because the paint is much better than the chemical masking fluid or the tapes that has those terrible hard edges. The white opaque paint allow me to paint as painterly painting. I think that's all about the color, and you probably see the palette. I have this piece here, which is a dirty sponge. The reason I keep it here is it will take excessive water out of my brush when I paint, and it will keep the water inside when I close this palette, and it will keep all my paints completely moist for weeks. Okay, so that's the great thing, and then I love this little palette. Other things I use are 2 water containers. One is the one that I keep painting. When I do the painting, you will see it. The other one is I try to go through the entire painting, keep this little one as clean as possible. I don't go there to wash my brushes. This is specifically saved for later, any places that needs clean water or needs lifting to re-wet the surface, so I wouldn't get any dirty things into the area that gets painted. I have a little spray bottle. When it gets too dry, I can use it. I also have a lot of Kleenex, not for my nose, but for getting water off the brush or off the paper. And I use this very simple regular masking tape to tape my paper. Sometimes I just tape the corner, but most of the time I do this way to cover the edge. I think that's all about my materials. Currently, all these material, all these stuff, my paperboard and such, sits on my plein air easel. I have the exactly same sets in my home studio, same palettes, a little bit larger, same sets of a brush, same kind of a water container at home, so I don't have to switch around or get myself confused. So now that's all about my art materials and how I use them. Let's move on to the water and the waterscape that we are going to paint today. I see if you understand a full character of a water that's related to us as an artist, you probably will feel much better and having a lot more freedom to paint and paint beautiful waterscapes. So let's see what kind of a character the water has. First, most of the time, the water is flat, leveled. Okay, it's leveled. With exception that when it comes to waterfall, it goes down. The portion of the water goes down because of the gravity. Then if you look at the flat, calm water, when there is no wind affect that water or no other forces, so it's not running water. See, this is the water that's set on a piece of wetland. You see there are reflections directly into the water, and that there is other reflection that's directly from the sky into the water. This is also the same. It's an evening scene, and you see the distance trees, they all go into the water and cause a refraction. Pay attention to here. Here we have a little angle. You see the top tree, this end is lower, and this end is taller. When it goes down to the water, the mirror image actually goes to a different direction. So these are the things you want to remember when you paint. It will help you to make your reflection that's real. Okay? If the tree goes this way, your reflection goes the other way, that will look funny. Okay? Once there is little breeze or gradually increased wind, the water surface the reflection of the water surface will be break by the ripple that's horizontal. Okay, these are the horizontal ripples. Some are larger, sometimes it's caused by birds, sometimes it's caused by you through a stone into the lake, etc. Or simply caused by the stronger wind. So you see, by comparison, these reflections, the more ripple or the wind on the surface of the water, the softer or blurred your reflection will be. Some will stay, a little stronger than the softer ones. So these are the ones that we wanted to have a visual language to tell the other viewer, your painting viewer, say, here's the water, it's still, but it comes with the wind, and then here's the ripple that break the top of the water. So that will make the piece of nothing looks like water. Okay. Here shows you the reflection, how this reflection goes. Again, the reflection from top to bottom is a mirror image. It directly goes into still, calm water. Meantime, you want to pay attention, say, this part of the angle is different, it's the opposite of the reflection angle. You want to pay attention to that. The verticals are go there, but once the top breaks, okay, then all the vertical lines gets blurred. So that's pretty much the calm part of the water, okay? When it comes to the moving water, these are the moving water around a little pond or lake. It has a force. So sometimes it's because the formation of the land and then cause the water goes down. We rarely see the water goes up, right? Because the gravity. Okay, so then here's the little small vertical waterfall. It goes down, then it goes into the flat area. And then you see how much ripple here it is by comparison to there, because there's a force coming down to cause this. But if you look at this part of the water, this part of the water, and even the bigger waterfall of the moving parts of the water, and include the sea form, all these places are white because it reflects the light. It's no longer, directly from the sky. There's nothing break. It's the moving water force breaks that mirror reflection. So when you come to here, the most important thing in watercolor is you will have to leave some or leave lots white. Then you can say, this is the part. Then I'll give you a hint as a visual language. We say it's the moving water. Okay. The challenge in watercolor is in oil you can later add white pigments on, but in watercolor is if you don't leave these whites, it's very, very difficult to get it back. Meantime, people say, well, can I lift? Can I put a masking fluid to it? All these will look either fake or your water will become dirty, will not be as white as here. So later we'll show you how we can do this with a thing called a negative painting and leave enough white. Pretty much we're painting around the white moving water to make it go. Okay, we'll probably paint, cliffs, rocks, and other things, the trees around the moving water to make it as moving, instead of actually painting this water a lot. We will give some. You see, look at it here. There will be some casted shadows on that completely white moving water. If you add a little bit of a texture over there, you will make the water looks like the white part looks like moving water and even moving pretty fast. So that's all. If you think about these, it's pretty simple. It's one thing is everything in water world is a calm or with a little bit of ripple to break the top and it reflects what's on top of the water. The other part is The heavy moving water, if you ever paint it, try to leave as much white as possible and only give some suggestions on the less moving part to make this heavy, fast moving part to appear white. Then you're done. So you can paint the still water, you can paint the moving water, both ways. So water can be the main subject of a landscape painting. It's what they so-called waterscape. So I'm going to do a larger demo of that. But before we do that, let's recap a little bit about what we learned, what we learned about the water characters. The water characters, from the visual aspect as a painter, we learned that water mainly is leveled, except certain conditions like waterfall, as from top to bottom. Okay, and water can have some visual characters that we can use, such as when the breeze comes, it has ripples. When the breeze becomes a very big wind, it may become quite a large wave in ocean conditions. All these, then the reflection from the calm, flat water will disappear and become the white sparks or even white waves, which in our representation when we paint in watercolor, we want to keep those as white as we can. Everything else we need to do is water cannot exist by itself without any other parts. It needs rocks, needs river bend, needs trees, needs other things to show the reflection, to show the edge of the water, so on and so forth. So all these elements can be used in the waterscape painting, make it as a full. So that's what we knew. And we're going to use probably most of these into our composition to do a waterscape painting. So today I'm going to do a waterscape painting come from various reference photos. These reference photos mainly I got from the Northwest. So I went to Olympic National Park. There is a very long river across the park called the Sudok River. And on top of that, there's like famous Sudok Falls, came. But I don't really have that reference photo, but I have the other waterfalls in the, from the park. So all these reference photos, you want to see that I'm not copying any of this. I'm picking from each one of the reference photos. Some are running water parts. You see the ones that's reflecting white in the river. Some are background forages that's fade into distance. And some are the waterfalls that's straight down. So I'm going to compose those into my painting. That's why it's called a composition. Also, I'm thinking I wanted to paint this one. I painted it multiple times on location, but it's all during the summertime. The latest is the late summer. But I really can't imagine when it's a fall time, it's an autumn time, color can be beautiful. So I wanted to paint a color scene because now I'm in studio, but I had the experience from on location. I knew how that river runs. I knew how the atmospheric around that area. So I want to combine these together. But for the fall foliage color, I don't have it from the park. What I have is from the far east. I went to Acadia National Park in Maine one of those years. So I took some fall color foliage, red, yellow, and you can see from the reference. From those, I'm going to use these color schemes into my composition and make it this painting slightly different or very different or a lot richer than the ones I paint on location. So that's how, the studio painting, if you paint it outdoors, you do the studio painting, that's how this great thing is. You can combine the both best and into one and make your own version of the best painting ever. My process is, it's not only composing with the elements from reference photos, but I'm also using a process called value sketch. In the value sketch, I'm not only positioning my elements, I'm also thinking about how dark or how light these elements needs to be, and whether or where I need to leave whites. Remember what we said, the running, moving water parts, like a waterfall or on the surface of the running river, I need to have the reflected white. I want to keep those. In watercolor, if you lose it forever. So that's how I'm going to do. So value sketch is going to be very small. So this is the small piece of a paper I do. Sometimes I do matchbox sizes, but this time I'm going to do a little bit bigger. I think this time I'm going to do a vertical painting. And I may do 2 value sketches. If I don't like the first one, I do. The value sketch is everything about the larger shapes, nothing about the details, okay? So this one I will start doing. So the value sketch probably will be this size. So if I do the second one, similar size, similar proportion as the final piece, roughly. And here is what I'm thinking. I think my horizontal line probably will be there, and here will be more or less the running water. And some rocks. Remember, we have to use the other elements to show the shape of water. So the other elements, rocks here and there. And this part, I think in the background, Olympic National Park, there are a lot of mountains, and during the winter time, and there can be snow or early fall. So I think I will try to do a little bit of a mountain in the background with a lot of evergreen trees. All these are just larger shapes. What I wanted to think about is, I want to try to keep some white waterfall in the back, then drop in here, and because this is a fall color, so I'm going to position my lightest fall tree branches and the colors through in here. Here will become the lighter water. You say, I cannot see anything. There is none of, all these pencil lines, nothing is accurate. Well, in my painting, there is nothing about accuracy. It's everything about relatively positioning, okay? We don't need any accuracy here. But once I put the value structure in there, you will see much better, okay? The value sketch, my process is I'm using one single color. The one single color is used to use a watercolor and to do this, and it took me a long time to discover this, but this one will also help me to prepare the next stage, so I will know where it needs to be pretty wet, soft wash, where it needs to be drier, and where it needs to wait probably till the very end for the very dry touch and such in this small scale, and it will be quick. So I'll just start doing that and picking a brush. Because it's small, remember this is just a value sketch to show how dark or light it will be. So nothing is about details. Okay, just pure ultramarine color with water. So the lightest goes as my lightest value and darkest will go as my darkest value. So I'll start doing that. I'm thinking leave some whites for the back snow mountain if I can. In watercolor is such a, if you lose it, lose it. Next time I'll give another try, okay? It's no big deal. So in the back, I think it will probably just be my background sky. And this part, I will try to leave some whites for the mountain. And so that will be pretty light value. Okay, I'm not thinking about color. I'm not thinking about anything else in the too complicated version. I'm just thinking how dark or light it needs to be. And here is where the waterfall needs to be. So I'm thinking leaving some whites and do this way, probably. So this white, you'll see a little bit of clear when I add the other part, will become somewhat the waterfall. The mountain, I probably don't need that much. But all these will be changed and it will be painted more precisely. This is just my planning stage, okay? So this part will be some kind of lighter trees, and this part also be lighter trees. But this lighter tree will be lighter than the other side. Okay, so we'll just give a touch. Okay, little bit more, go back, and then the lighter things needs to have some darker things in the back to show it up as this shape. So I'm thinking here will be more of the darker tree. You see in the reference photo, there's a lot of evergreen trees in the national park. So that's what I'm going to do. So here comes when the white waterfall drops from the top. It bursts something bursts the water. Actually, it's not something. Bursts the water, and it will make this one pretty light, and then it will be connecting into the water part. So let's make the water part clear first. So this is going to be the running water part. It's more like flat S. Go that shape, okay? Okay, so that pretty much will be go down, and I will probably add some reflections. Hold on for a second. So I'm just moving down. And now think about the darker shapes that will help me to make this part of the running water and the flat water more obvious. So I'm just randomly adding probably some darks. What will be those darks? It could be rocks, could be trees, it could be bushes, and could be, fallen tree trunks. All these probably doesn't really matter. I'm not thinking about any details. Again, this is a value sketch that only help you prepare the values instead of thinking about the details. That's why it's small, and that's why it's simple. It's nothing really painted as something that, to be looked at as accurate stuff. Okay. So again, here it needs to be darker. So thinking about value, here needs to be darker, here also needs to be darker. How dark? We'll see. Okay. And when things getting darker to me or to the viewer, this running water will come to the very end. So this is the small part down to the paper. I always got a lot of a question, what I'm supposed to do? And people ask a lot of junks here, a lot of details. Well, these are the part actually leads viewers' eyes in. So the best is let's not worry about it, okay? You need to know, is it dark or is it light? It probably is pretty dark because it will be more rocks, but some rocks will be underwater, I think. But mainly value-wise, as a structure, it's going to be darker. So kind of sealed this S into the running water S into the distance. So people wouldn't stop here and looking, okay? That's the wrong place to look at. You want them to look right into there. Do a little bit more because the structure is there, but it's not completely clear yet. So I'm just doing a little bit darkness on the close up to make sure this darker shape carries into my whole composition. There is a joke said by some famous artist. Actually, he was long gone. He was a famous educator, Edgar Whitney. He used to say that the pros plan like a turtle and then paint like a rabbit. So I'm just, at this stage, I'm a turtle stage. I'm just planning to make sure that my roadmap, this one, positioned as my roadmap, is going to lead me to the place I wanted to go. Okay. So that pretty much will be the shape and the values. I'm now giving the outline so you can see a little clearly how this is. Okay. Then inside, remember what we said about the water character. So these will be my lighter tree, and some of these will be reflecting into the water. But I'm not going to describe it too much here. I would just say, we'll see how that goes. Okay. Eventually it will be positioned in there. And here I definitely don't need the light values. That's why I'm just erasing this by adding here and there a little bit of darker value. And here probably needs a little bit more darks. You see the entire process is not about what you add to. It's not about trees, rocks, water in any detail, but the entire process is about how these value structure needs to be, where it needs to be dark, where it needs to be light, and so on and so forth. Also, when I'm doing this, I did thicker paints here, and I did soft wash over there. These will help me to understand fully, and when I paint, I'll get it more prepared to do all of these. Okay, so that's the value sketch, and I think it's pretty much there. Examine it. Try to see any spot that's a trouble spot. I don't think I need this white because I wanted the white or lightest part goes through this way. So this is the wrong spot. So touch it up and it will be gone. Okay. So that will make the painting more unified instead of scattered with this and that too much. So that will be the value sketch. Touch it up. And the darkers needs to be connected a little bit more. This is going to be on my side. Somewhat I will reference back. And this is going to be pretty much the ultimate goal when I finish the painting with a lot of colors and so on and so forth. So I wanted to refer back and to see whether I got it right with the overall value structure. If halfway through in my process I got lost, this is also a good thing to reference back to. Where should I be dark, where should I be light? So this is going to be my roadmap on my site. Okay, so now I start with the drawing. With the value structure is pretty much there. A lot of alternation can happen, but now I'm focusing on the larger shapes that looks like something. Looks like a tree, looks like a rock, but the basic position, the composition will be just like this, okay? And using reference photos here and there, and I'm just combining all of these and I will make sure that I will have some forage. And you see that these are just positioning lines. It's not anything that goes exact anywhere. You don't need that. If you can give the freedom to yourself and to your watercolor, you're much better off. Okay, so these will be possible rocks. You see, I didn't really do background yet because I want to get to the main star of the show, the focus of the water here first to occupy the space that I wanted it to occupy. Then when I go everything around, I will go with this main theme as the waterscape. So it will be some small rocks. Here will be some other rocks. They're never on the same size or same positioning. What here will be, I don't know. We don't need to go to the details. So this part, I think I'm going to give some evergreen tree shape, and here will be that background, the mountain, just a hint. Okay, nothing needs to be precise. Give a little tip, snow mountain, and here will be more of the background trees. The most important actually will be the larger shape that I'm positioning and on the right space. I think I needed to move this one over a little bit, so I gave the waterfall a little bit more visibility. So I'm just moving over. You really don't need to have to erase constantly, and actually if you erase more, you're going to damage your paper. Most of these will be covered by the color and nothing will be seen in most cases. Maybe here a bit more rocks. What about here? So this is the lower position of the tree, and here might be a little bit more to echo. And remember this white, this waterfall, I think needs to go somewhere here. Maybe it depends how I put my brush stroke there. Sometimes I'll break that into half, or sometimes it's just one continuous one. See how it goes. Again, nothing is about accuracy. It's about relatively how you want to visually show the beauty of this whole area. Anything else is not that important. All these here will be the background trees. And then I think after this white, I'm going to leave this portion pretty much white, maybe some small rocks, so to show in distance the running water, the character of a running water when it breaks everything and there's no reflection. So that will be the white continue comes here. And hopefully I will do some calm water and a little bit of reflection in this edge when the water goes this way. Okay. But if I couldn't do it, we'll do it in next piece. Okay. No big deal. Okay. Here, and then this will be the bench, and here will be the running off part. So the running off part can be very interesting because water goes down. It's no longer the waterfall. It follows the shape of the rocks, and it gave me a great chance sometimes just to feel to show how the water is spitting over some rocks and then coming down. And here, twist again, but this is weaker twist of the water. We don't need to show much. That's it. Okay, so pretty much emphasize a few, review it. Don't lose your focus. Don't keep looking at reference photos. You need the reference photos, but I tend to put my reference photos at least a couple of feet away. Okay, we don't need it. I'm not copying any photo. I'm creating my own painting, and you want to remember that. Copying exactly something from a photo, to me, is extremely boring. You know, if you do that, you just take that photo and the camera does that for you already. You don't need to copy it. What you want to do is you want to create more interesting painting that the camera cannot do. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. Okay, remember, keep the white and try to keep some whites there, or very light wash, and we'll go down and we'll have some white possible strips, but if not, I can always lift out. And value-wise, it's lighter in the distance, and keep a little bit of hint of the snow mountain, lighter and the cooler in the distance, and it will have warmer foliage and coming down, and the warmer reflections in the water, hopefully, and then that will be cooling down again. So that will be the temperature planning. So value planning and temperature planning, now it's time to do it. Let's just do it with bold, sure marks. The watercolor has one thing, it hates the hesitation. It hates dapping it or mopping or washing off and put it again on it multiple times. It gets dirty in no time. So try avoid that as much as possible.
Painting water can feel like learning to speak a new language. Unnatural, confusing, and what seems simple just isn't. You see, water has a language all its own, and if you don't understand it, you'll never be able to harness the beauty and the power of it in your paintings. You could try for years and never be satisfied with the results, and if you don't get the water just right, the entire painting could be ruined. But there's now a way for you to learn the language of water. Welcome to Fearless Waterscapes with Shuang Li, an instructional video that will help you become fluent in the unique language of painting water. With her extensive teaching background, there's no one better than award-winning artist Shuang Li to bring you an entirely new approach for looking at and interpreting the many different types of water, calm or flowing, gentle or roaring, and to paint it just right every time.
The most important thing in watercolor is you will have to leave some or leave lots white. Then you can say, this is the part, then I'll give you a hint as a visual language. We say it's the moving water.
In this full start-to-finish painting demonstration, Shuang will show you how to paint accurate reflections, sparkle, and elements like rocks and branches that are often located in or near the water. She'll reveal her masterful classic and contemporary techniques for creating more interest and drama by bringing in wet effects and cascades. You'll be amazed at her ability to capture moods and moments of light and color with exquisite poetic expression. And soon, your paintings will begin coming to life with believable water scenes that you painted with ease because you came to understand the language of water. Fearless Waterscapes with Shuang Li is available on DVD or digitally to view on your computer, tablet, or smartphone. Get your copy today and start learning and practicing the new language of water.
Well, that was Shuang Li, and the video was called Fearless Waterscapes. You can learn more about it at lilyartvideo.com. Remember, there's a special discount code in the comments section for today only. Thank you for watching.